And for more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined now by the former Lieutenant Governor of New York, Betsy McCaughey. Betsy Skyping in tonight from New York City. And joining us from the West Coast, Southern California to be precise, political commentator and son of Ronald Reagan, Michael Reagan. Michael, of course, the author of the book, Lessons My Father Taught Me, The Strength, Integrity, and Faith of Ronald Reagan. And as always, you can find and follow Michael on Twitter. His handle is @ReaganWorld. Thanks very much for your time here on Newsmax Prime. And Michael, speaking of Twitter, you reacted to a tweet from a follower who basically said they were originally for Carly, but will remain loyal to the GOP. You replied with this. We're going to put it up on the screen, which has created somewhat of a firestorm. Your tweet in response reads, "My father would not support this kind of campaign. If this is what the Republican Party wants, leave us Reagans out. Nancy would vote for HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton." Michael, could you expand on your reasoning behind that tweet?
All true. I mean, when I looked at what Trump said over the weekend, and you just played it about inferring that you have Hillary Clinton cheating on Bill, and he meant it sexually. That's exactly what he meant, because he followed it up. And it made fun of her walking the way he walked when she tripped and fell into her car when she had pneumonia. I think turned off more women, certainly turned off my wife and daughter, and I think many other people around the globe. And I thought, gee, if Nancy was watching this, where would she be with this? And Nancy would be in the HRC column, the Hillary Rodham Clinton column. My father would be absolutely appalled by where this campaign has gone on both sides, but more so on the Republican side, because he thought more of the Republican Party than where Donald Trump is in fact taking it. And that's why I said, if this is where the Republican Party is going to stand, if these are the insinuations they're going to make, then leave the Reagans out.
Look, Ronald Reagan, and I loved him dearly. He's my favorite all-time president. Ronald Reagan is remembered for many things, but aside from defeating communism and the Cold War, he is most remembered for restoring economic growth in this country through supply-side tax cuts. Donald Trump's economic plan is a carbon copy, a tribute to Ronald Reagan's supply-side initiative.
Betty, I am so
for that
tired.
reason alone,
I have had it up to my eyeballs, and so is the whole family, with this whole thing of trying to equate Donald Trump to my father.
Well, why don't you listen?
It is not even close, Betsy. It's not even close. Lay off of Ronald Reagan.
Let's let her finish her point. Finish your point, Betsy.
Deep economic stagnation. It's time to restore economic growth. Donald Trump is offering tax cuts that will boost the economy, especially slashing corporate tax rates to 15% from 39%. And in addition, as you were mentioning the millennials a moment ago, millennials have so much to gain. They are living in their parents' basements, as Hillary Clinton mocked them for, because they don't have enough money. A $60,000 a year single man is going to save $2,700 under Donald Trump's tax cuts.
You may be right. I'm not disagreeing with all the things you're saying about the millennials, so on and so forth, and the fact we need a better economy. But I will tell you, Donald Trump, the direction he is going, and the disparaging remarks that he is making, and the low pole that he is going down to, the low level that he is going down to, Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States to put in place all the things you're talking about. He needs to grow up and move forward.
All right, duly noted. Let me get to another point. Let me get to another point on that, Michael. And Betsy, we know that Hillary has been branding Mr. Trump as hostile to women. Of course, we had that thing with a former Miss Universe.
Which is truly preposterous, since his campaign manager, whom I know very well, a wonderful woman, married with 4 little children. If Donald Trump weren't very supportive of her, she wouldn't have that job. And he has advanced so many women through his organization. And I can tell you that personally, when I was Lieutenant Governor of New York State, he showed me so much respect, more than most of the New York Pauls in either party.
Well, let me go to something else then. We've touched on it in a different way. In terms of economic theory and plans for the future, that's taxes. The here and now, the New York Times over the weekend, quote, finding allegedly Mr. Trump's tax returns in 1995, but not mentioning the Times and the fact that they paid no federal tax back in 2014. Is this an example, Michael, of the complicity between Hillary's campaign and the New York Times? And how do you feel about it?
Of course, I think we all know where the New York Times is going to be on this, and they're certainly not going to report they didn't pay taxes in 2014. This shouldn't even be an issue, what happened 20 some odd years ago, because we went back in everybody's tax records. We can find disparities. We can find people made money, lost money. Hey, a guy lost $1 billion. That means he had to make $1 billion to lose $1 billion. And so I put my money on the person who is successful in coming out of these things and moving forward. If he would have lost $1 billion last year, I'd question it. But in 1995, don't think so.
And what about it, Betsy?
Let me also point out that since 1918, the use of tax loss carryforwards has been part of the tax system and is used by people starting a drugstore down the street, building a big building the way Donald Trump does, or making other kinds of investments. Congress created that provision to encourage people to take risk, to start businesses, to create jobs. And so when they do, and on occasion they lose the money, they are legally entitled to spread those losses over quite a few years, 18 years altogether, and that will reduce or eliminate their tax liability in other years when they make money. Millions of Americans do this every year. I have done it myself. There's nothing illegal about it, and shame on the New York Times for writing an article so full of innuendo and suggestion as if Donald Trump had broken the law by using this very common tax provision.
And we will end on that note of unanimity. Thank you for a rollicking discussion, Betsy McCaughey in New York and Michael Reagan in Southern California. Now, this programming reminder, join Newsmax TV for our special coverage of the one and only vice presidential debate tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We're coming back with John Zogby and more, so stay with us.